welcome to episode 99 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Tuesday, August 11th, 2020. This is a podcast all about my crafty life, and today I have crochet and knitting to share with you all. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you've really enjoyed this episode. You can find me online on Instagram at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. I am hosting a year-long make-along over on Instagram, which is called the Make 9 2020 MAL. And that is for you to join in the Make 9 challenge, where you choose 9 projects that you would like to make within the year 2020. Post a grid of those 9 projects to Instagram and include the hashtag Make92020MAL in order to enter into this make-along. Then of any time that you post a picture showing any of those projects in progress or any of them finished, you can also include that hashtag, and that will enter you to win a prize, which I am drawing periodically throughout the year. WIPs are included in this make-along, as well as any craft, so please feel free to continue to join in. I'm so excited to see people continuing to join in this make-along, even though we're well through the year already. But if there are, I've said before, if you have 9 WIPs that you have outstanding and you'd like to finish them up before the end of the year, go ahead and include those in a board. Or maybe you have 9 Christmas projects that you would like to have made before the end of the year. So you could certainly make a board showing those as well. So please feel free to continue to join in. It's so much fun to see the different projects that people are working on, and people are making a lot of awesome progress on their projects. So it's just a fun way to kind of focus in on the different things that we would like to make and, try to keep our minds focused on those particular projects. But there's no requirement to finish anything or everything. You don't have to finish. It's just a participatory make-along just for the fun of it. So please continue to join in, and I love seeing the projects that you all are working on. I'm super excited that next time I record, I will be recording episode 100, and that is just such an awesome milestone that I thought it would be super fun to do a special giveaway for my 100th episode. So I have a prize that I'd like to show you all. I made this bag. So this will be part of the 100th episode giveaway. So it's just a drawstring bag. It's a pretty roomy size. It easily fits 3 skeins of yarn, or more even, really. But it's just a patchwork project bag. It's got a boxed bottom, and inside is this black and white lining with a pocket, and there's some goodies inside as well. So the color scheme that I got here, I got from the yarn that is going to be included on this giveaway, and it is 3 skeins of A Homespun House yarn. So the 3 colors, they're all on the merino fingering weight, which is 100% non-superwash merino yarn. It's 420 meters or 470 yards for 100 grams. And this color is called Hopscotch. This one is Fresh Sheets, which I believe is undyed. And this one is Third Eye. So those, of course, would go well together in a project, or they'd be great to be used in many different ways. I'm sure you all can think of many ways to use them. They are, they don't have any nylon in them, so they probably wouldn't be awesome for socks, in my opinion, but some people use 100% merino wool for socks if they're not very hard on their socks. I am, so it doesn't work for me, but anyway, they would be great in shawls or sweaters or anything like that. So those 3 will be part of the prize. And then I also made a knitting necklace, like a knitting jewelry necklace, that also has the same kind of color scheme. And this has, it has a faux leather cord that can be, cinched up. It has the sliding knots on it. And then it has a big clasp on it here at the top, and that has 10 smaller stitch markers. And then also attached are 10 more progress keepers / stitch markers. They could be used for either because they all are on these large clasps. So they can be used as stitch markers, or you can open them up and use them as progress keepers. So I'll just go through really quick what I've got on here. I kind of tried to keep with a crafty theme. So I've got a pencil on there and then just a few gem or beaded ones. This charm says made with love. A pair of scissors. Here's a little mug that is filled with scissors and looks like a paintbrush and maybe a pen or pencil, something like that. And also a little tape measure. So I thought that was a fun little coordinating it, the color scheme. I tried to keep them all coordinated, so that will go along with the prize. And lastly, a cute little tape measure that says love beyond measure on both sides. So that's super fun, I thought, to include as well. So those are that's everything that's included with the 100th episode giveaway. So I thought it'd be fun to do a question and answer episode next time. So in order to enter, you just need to comment below with a question for me. However, I have a stipulation to that because the question that I get asked the most, which I'm so flattered that people say this, but a lot of times people will say, how do you get so much done? That's really one of the only questions that I get over and over again is, I can't believe how much you get done. How do you possibly get so much done? And so anyway, that question is not allowed. I will go ahead and answer it here as I usually reply to the people that ask me that, just to let them know that I don't know how I get so much done. I don't know. I just knit or crochet whenever I have a chance. So I wake up pretty early. I guess that's one key. I wake up at 5 a.m. usually every morning, and I get at least 2 hours of solid time in the morning to myself before my kids get up. And so I get a lot of knitting and crocheting done during those 2 hours. And then usually around 7, my kids start getting up and I need to get them breakfast and so forth. But then I do homeschool our 5 children. And so I can work on, I always bring a project to the school table as we're working together. But honestly, I get very little done during schoolwork because there's just very little time that I am not needing to help somebody. But I usually get a couple of rows in on whatever project I happen to be working on. So, again, whenever I have the chance, I'm just always knitting. Then about, we have, our lunch, and about 1 o'clock, then the kids usually go outside to play or, just play on their own. We have some free time in the afternoon. And so I usually get at least an hour again in the afternoon where I can sit down with my knitting and work on it a little bit. On a really good day, I might even get 2, maybe 3 hours. That's a rarity, but I at least get an hour in the afternoon, I would say. And then, in the afternoons, we do our chores around the house, clean up and stuff, and I start getting supper ready. Then usually after we get supper cleaned up and everything, I might have another half an hour or so in the evenings before the kids go to bed where I can work on my projects. And then after the kids go to bed, I typically probably have another hour there where I can work on my projects because I usually stay up. The kids usually go to bed between 8 and 9, and then I try to go to bed by 10. Sometimes I stay up a little later than that, but usually by 10 o'clock I'm starting to wind things down. So I get another hour in there. So I don't know. That's my day. That's my typical day. Now on the weekends, I might get a few extra hours in there, especially on a Sunday. I typically can get a few extra hours in, but it varies, of course, if we have something going on or something like that. But that's just kind of my rundown of a typical day. So I don't know. I just do what I can do. I definitely have an advantage in being able to stay home. And that means that, I know there's so many out there that have to work out of the home. And that just really cuts down on any crafting time, and there's just lots of time lost in traveling back and forth. And, you know, I know that I have a huge advantage of being able to be home and taking advantage of any free time that I have to work on my projects. So I'm so grateful for that. I did used to work full-time outside of the home, and so I know what that's like. When we had our two oldest children, I worked outside of the home, and so I know that that is so much more stressful and so much more work. So anyway, I'm so grateful to be able to be home, and I don't take that for granted. Anyway, if you have any other questions for me, I would be so happy to answer them on the next episode, depending on how many questions I get. You know, I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of them, but it would be so much fun to have a question and answer special episode for my 100th episode next time I record, which will probably be in 2 weeks. So I don't know exactly which day, usually during the week, but typically it will be 2 weeks from now. So I'll put the dates down below so that you kind of have an idea of the week that I will probably be recording next. All right, I have a finished object that I'm super excited to share with you all. I was able to finish this large granny square blanket, and it's so huge. It measures 6 feet wide, and it's a square. And this is a blanket that I crocheted for my brother-in-law and his family. He is married and they have 4 young girls. My youngest son, who is 6, it was his idea to make this blanket. He really wanted to make a blanket for his cousins, and so he picked out all of these yarns from my deep stash and chose all of them, even though I tried to persuade him not to use this burgundy color because I was afraid it might not go with their home decor. But then we came to find out that they have in their living room a burgundy rug, and so it's just perfect. So it all worked out perfectly. Anyway, I'll have to stand up to show this to you if I can. I think I'm gonna have to stand on a chair because it's enormous. Yeah, I don't think it'll even fit in the frame this way totally, but you get an idea of it. Ooh, it is so heavy. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's as good as I can do. You get the idea. So last time I recorded an episode, I was right here on this row where that progress keeper is marking. So I really didn't do too many more rounds. I think about 10 more rounds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more rounds since I recorded last. And as you can see, I just decided to, I didn't actually run out of the other colors of yarn, but I decided to go ahead and use the darker gray colors that I had a lot of for the border, just to kind of make a thicker border to kind of, I thought it just framed the piece really nicely and gave it a type of border. I didn't actually border it with any different stitch. I just continued with that granny square stitch for the entirety of it. I think I wrote down how many total rounds I did. Yeah, I did a total of 83 rounds. And all of the yarns that I used are 100% acrylic. They're all from my deep stash. I will list them below if you're curious as to the different brands that I use. There's several different brands of yarn and several different colorways. I used an H hook, which is 5mm. And all of the yarns that I used are worsted weight except for one. There's one in here that is a bulky weight. This one right here. And you know, is a little bit thicker, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference in, you know, the gauge, or, you know, it didn't make it, it still lays nicely. So anyway, I'm super happy with how this turned out. It is so huge. I decided to make it so large because my brother-in-law is 6'6", and so I wanted it to be big enough to, you know, just be comfortable for their family to share. And so I'm just really, really happy with how this turned out, and I really hope that they will enjoy it. It's going to be a complete surprise for them because, you know, they would not be expecting me to make them a blanket. It's just a pretty random gift, but hopefully it will be well loved for many years to come. I have this huge box behind me, right back there, so I'm going to package it up in there, and I actually got a few presents for the girls as well, just because I thought it'd be fun when they receive this package in the mail if they all each of them has a special toy as well. So anyway, I'm going to package this up along with those toys for their girls, and hopefully this will be a wonderful surprise for their family. They live back in North Carolina, so I'll have to get that in the mail to them. And yeah, I'm so happy I was able to make this for them, and so thrilled that my son was able to help me, you know, design it and pick out the colors. And all of the kids really helped to pick out the color. You know, they would help to choose which color came next, because the color placement is completely random throughout the entire blanket. So anyway, it was a fun family project for us to work on, and then hopefully it will be a wonderfully loved blanket for the family that this is going to. Okay, on to works in progress. The first one I want to share is my crazy granny stripe blanket that I started I showed it off for the first time on the last episode. And so here is a progress keeper from where I was last time I recorded. So I was just able to work a few more rows, but I am putting in to this blanket the very tiniest scraps that I have left over from my Hexy Scrappy blanket, which I showed on the last episode. And whenever I end with a little bit of yarn that is not enough to put into that blanket, then I add it to a ball that is just completely random and I save the tiniest little bits of yarn, and I use the Russian join method to join the different colors of yarn. And I had a 125 gram ball that I had saved up from all of the scraps from that blanket, and that's what I have worked up here. So it is, that 125 gram ball is completely done, so I don't have anything else to work on just yet. As I continue to work on the Hexy Scrappy Afghan, then I will be, you know, adding those little bits of scraps into another ball to add to this once I get to once I save up enough scraps, I will continue to add them to this blanket. But this is going to be a super long-term project because it won't get done until my Hexy blanket is done, and that will take a really long time, I'm sure. I used the tutorial by Bella Coco. I will link to that tutorial in the description box below. I was completely inspired by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady and did exactly what she did for her granny stripe Afghans, which is start off with chaining 300 stitches. I am using a C hook 2.75 millimeter. And this is a Clover brand. And this project is just so much fun. I wish I had more yarn to put in it right now, but I don't. I used up all that I had. So it's so much fun to work on though. I love it. I just love the colors. So much fun. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that, but it will be on hold now for a while. And all of the yarn that's going into this is fingering weight. My next work in progress is in this beautiful butterfly bag from Joy in the Stitches. And in here is one of my Make 9 2020 projects. This is called the Autumn Whirlpool sweater, and it is by Natalie Pellick. This is a top-down yoked sweater. Last time I recorded, I was right here where this progress keeper is marking. This is knit at a very tight gauge. I'm not even as tight I'm not working this as at the right gauge. I'm looser than what I should be, but it's still a pretty tight gauge. I'm getting a gauge of 27 to 28 inches I said that last time too. 27 to 28 stitches for 4 inches. That's my gauge. The gauge called for in the pattern, I believe, is 30 stitches to 4 inches. I am knitting this on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. That's pretty tight. I mean, that's what I use for socks. So hopefully this will be a really durable, hard wearing sweater. I'm hoping, since it's got such a tight gauge. I even used 000 1.5 millimeter needles for the ribbing. I am modifying this sweater in that I am adding in beads, which I'm super excited about. I'm really happy with how it's turning out so far. So there's, as you can see, lots of cables in the yoke part as well. And then I'm just adding in some beads wherever I think they will work. They're not going to be perfectly placed because I'm just kind of putting them in where I think they would look great, but I'm not really experienced at beading. I've only completed one project with beading on it, and I'm currently working on this and one other project that has beading added to it. So I'm not an expert by any means, but I really wanted to just have a sweater with some beading around the yoke area, and I'm super excited about how this is turning out so far. The color of this yarn is not captured properly on screen. It's not quite so red. It's more of a purplish burgundy color. On the screen, it comes across more red than it is in person. But this is my own hand-dyed yarn. This is on a 100% non-superwash merino wool fingering weight. And when I used to sell hand-dyed yarn, I don't anymore, this is what I called my vineyard colorway. So I'm really excited with how this is turning out. The beads I got from Seed Bead Paradise. I also have this adorable little notions pouch that matches my project bag from Trisha Joy in the Stitches, which I love so much. And I've been keeping the beads in that. So here are the beautiful beads that I'm using. Again, they're from Seed Bead Paradise, and they are called the Gold Lustered Raspberry colorway, and they're a Toho size 6 bead. So that's going really well, but it's probably going to be a slow going project just because it is such a tight gauge. So, and there's a lot of stitches on the needles already. I'm not sure exactly how many stitches are on the needles right now, but it does say that once I'm done with the second chart for the yoke, I will be up to 440 stitches. That's huge, right? For a fingering weight sweater. So anyway, it will be a long process probably. I don't know. I'm not feeling too hopeful about being able to finish all of my Make 9 projects. So this is the 5th project from my Make 9 list, but on my Make 9 list, I also have a shawl that I'll show you in a minute that I've started. And then I also have 2 more sweaters, 1 cardigan, 1 sweater, and then 1 more shawl. So I don't know. We'll see. I could do it. If I really stay focused, I could probably do it. And then I also I made 2 Make 9 lists. So I have another Make 9 list that has, I have one other project that I'll show you also from that list. And then I have 2 pairs of colorwork gloves on that list as well that I would like to finish. So we'll see. It's possible. We'll see. Anyway, I'm loving this project. It's really fun. I'm really enjoying the process of making that sweater. So that's great. Okay, I have 2 more works in progress, which I already mentioned. The first one is here in this beautiful bag from Tanny Casey. I love this bag so much. And it also has a pin on there. I don't remember who that's from. I wonder if I can remember that. I don't know. But I love it. It has, it's a row counter, so that is really handy. It says just 1 more, and it can keep track of what row you're on for the pattern. So like I said, this is from my personal Make 9 list. This is the Kimba shawl by Amba O'Brien. And I'm so excited that I have this on the go now. I have been really excited to make this shawl, and I'm so excited to have it in the works. I started it because I wasn't really thinking to start it quite yet, but I started it because my other projects that I had on the go were not easily, I couldn't travel with them. And we were going to go into Omaha, which is about a half-an-hour drive for us, and I needed something to work on while we were in the car, and I didn't have anything, so I decided to cast this on. And the beginning part of this shawl is very mindless, so that was really great. But I'm done with that part now, and I'm on to the more patterned section. I just started it's more of a chevron shape. I'll put a picture in here so you can see what the shawl looks like when it's done. So when I first talked about my Make 9 list, I think I went through a lot of the yarns that I was planning on using for some of the projects, and I showed 4 skeins of yarn that I wanted to use for this project, but the one that you're seeing here is the only one that I decided to keep in from that first, the first selection that I had for this shawl. This is the only skein of yarn that I stayed with. Anyway, this is a beautiful gift that I received from Adriana, who is a viewer of the podcast. She hand dyed this yarn. She used to also sell hand dyed yarn, and she dyed this particular yarn. Her company name was called String to Stitches, and the colorway is It's Fall, Y'all. It's on, these are all fingering weight yarns. This is a 75-25 merino nylon blend, and I absolutely love how that color looks. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm so thrilled with how that looks. So my original selection for this shawl was more of a fade. I had 4 yarns that really were very similar, and they were just a really subtle fade. But as you may have seen on the picture that I showed, there is in the pattern, there is more of a contrast in the colors of the yarn that were chosen, and that's what is recommended, which I didn't really realize. So I decided to change my other colors, which I'm super excited about. So this is obviously color 1, and then the next color I'll be going into is a yarn that I dyed. This is my Sweetness colorway, so it's just a neutral base, and then it's got specks of pink and purple and brown. And that will be my second color, and this will be striped in 2 different sections of the shawl. The third color is another one of my hand dyed, and this was a one-of-a-kind, kind of my first trial of my Ornament of Gold colorway that I sold. So it's got a real rich goldish brown base, and then it's speckled with green and rust colors, kind of some brighter orange colors as well. This is a strange color combo, I thought. I mean, it was kind of out there for me, but I thought it was a really good contrast with, it kind of picked up the golds in that first color, and I thought it was kind of a neat looking contrast. Now this one is on a 75-25 base. This one is on the same base that I'm knitting the sweater out of, the 100% non-superwash merino wool. But I don't mind about mixing bases at all. The final color that I'm going to be putting in is this gorgeous one. This is also from A Homespun House, and this is the Homestead colorway. And this is also on the same base as the giveaway prizes, so it's on the merino fingering base, 100% non-superwash merino. It's definitely a different base than my base that I have dyed, but again, beautiful. I love the colors in this. So it's kind of got a like a really light grayish brown base, and then it's got specks of pink and purple kind of in it. It's so pretty. So anyway, let's see if I can show you the 4 colorways together. So there we go. Those are the 4 different colorways. So I'm excited about that. I think it'll be a really fun color combo. Now I am using the recommended needle size right now, which are US 5 3.75 millimeter needles. I'm just about, right now, like I said, I'm working into more of a pattern stitch, but it's still kind of a garter. This first part is all done in garter stitch, as you can probably see, and there were a lot of short rows that are worked in this first section. But now I'm going to be moving into more of a lacy pattern, and so I think I'm going to go up in a needle size just because garter stitch has such a stretch to it that I don't want this first section to be too stretchy compared to the rest of the shawl. So I think I'm going to go up to a US 6 4 millimeter needle, and I may even go up to a US 7, which would be 4.5, I think. But I'm not quite sure. I'm going to kind of play it by ear and see how the gauge looks once I've worked a couple of, I might do a little bit in a US 6. I definitely will. I'm going to move into a US 6 4mm once I get into more of the lacy, away from the garter stitch pattern into the more lacy pattern. And then we'll see from there what I decide to do for the rest of the shawl. But I'm super excited about that one. But now it again is not mindless. So I don't really have any mindless projects right now, but that's okay. Well, it's not really okay. Maybe I'll need to cast on another pair of mindless socks or something like that. We'll see. But right now I am working on another pair of socks. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen my recent posts. I have been participating in Sock Week 2020, which is hosted by Natalie of Knitty Natty, and it is a challenge to try to make one sock in 8 days. I have cast on a pair of socks, and I'm holding it in this cute little Japanese knot bag that my friend Tina made for me, and in here is a gift for Tina. So if you've watched for a while, you may remember that a while back I had mentioned that Tina had some of my hand-dyed yarn that she had purchased from me, and she doesn't really use fingering weight yarn too often. She does crochet and knit, but she's not quite as die-hard as I am. She likes to work on easier projects. And I had knit her some socks and she loved them, and she had only bought my yarn mainly because she really just loved looking at the hanks of yarn and seeing the beautiful colors in them. And anyway, so she gave them back to me to have me knit her some more socks using those yarns. So I decided to work up one of those skeins into a pair of socks for her for this Sock Week 2020 challenge. The colorway that I am using is my Light of Dawn colorway, and it is on a gold stellina. So 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% gold stellina base. So this one, I was obviously inspired to dye this based on the colors of the morning sunrise. So it's just got some beautiful golds, pinks, and blues in there. And this is the other project from my Make 9 gift list. These are the Whispers in the Wind socks, which is a beautiful pattern by my favorite sock designer, Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady. And I am really enjoying this pattern so much. I am making the medium size, which is 64 stitches. And as you can plainly see, they are worked top down. And I'm using a US 1 2.25mm needle. The ribbing is beautiful. It's a twisted ribbing, and it's got, it's not just an even pattern. It's kind of coordinates with the pattern of the sock, which is just really beautiful, I think. So I cast these on Sunday morning. That's when the Sock Week 2020 challenge started. I woke up early and super excited to get these cast on. I just really love a challenge. I'm super motivated by a challenge, and so I have put down my other whips for now, and I am only working on these until I get them done. I'm just going to completely focus on these and see how quickly I can make a pair of socks, just for the fun challenge of it. I'm not like gonna go overboard and hurt myself knitting too much, but this is just the only project I'm gonna work on until I finish them. So I'm super excited with the progress that I've made already. So really I've only gotten 2 days of work in on these. So like I said, I cast these on Sunday morning, and here is a progress keeper marking my progress from that first day. So I was so happy to be able to get so much done. That was a Sunday though, and I usually do have quite a bit of extra time to knit on a Sunday, typically. So I was able to get, I think 3 repeats of the pattern on that first day done. The cuff is 20 rows of the ribbing, and the pattern is just so much fun. I really, really enjoy it. There's a new stitch in here that I had to watch Kay's tutorial that's included with the pattern, which is wonderful because I couldn't quite wrap my head around it, but I was able to go to her tutorial that she has available through her pattern. There's a link in the pattern that you can go to learn how to do this cabled, I think it'd be a cable, wouldn't it? I don't know. You cross the stitches, so Anyway, it makes this beautiful crossed stitch, and it's really a fun stitch to make. I love learning new stitches like that, and that's not the first time that I've learned a new stitch from one of Kay's sock patterns that I've really enjoyed. So anyway, these are so much fun to work up. So I have about finished the heel flaps. Oh, I didn't mention this, but as you can plainly see, I'm making these 2 at a time. This is my very favorite way to knit socks. I was excited to try a few of the different methods joining in on Kay's Summer Sock Camp 2020. I recently made a pair of socks on DPNs and 9-inch circulars, which I'm so happy that I did, and now I know that I can do that if I need to, but this is my tried and true favorite way to knit socks is on use a 32-inch needle to knit my socks 2 at a time, and it's just my favorite. I love it because not only do I not really enjoy making the second sock when I make 1 at a time, I just feel like I gotta do this all over again. I don't know, I just really love the process of doing it all at once. I love it that I know they're perfectly matching. When I'm making socks 1 at a time, I have to really be paying attention to how many rows did I put into the leg, and I don't know, like if I'm not varying from this pattern at all, but if I ever do, then I want to make sure I match it, and I really have to concentrate more. And when I do them both at the same time, I feel like it's more relaxing for me because I don't have to stress about them not being matching. Anyway, I just have 2 more rows of the heel flap to go, and then I'll be picking up the gusset stitches and so forth. So I'm super happy with my progress on these. Just a better close-up of that pattern. Of course, with this variegated yarn, the pattern isn't showing up as clearly as it would on a more solid colorway, but I love it anyways. And the back is just plain stockinette, which I like that. It's a nice break to have that back section just completely mindless, so that's great. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say for those. I do have 2 more works in progress. I have besides my other Scrappy blankets, I have a shawl by Boho Knits, which is lace weight, and I'm adding beads to that as well. I've only added 2 rows to that shawl, so I'm not going to show it off because there's just hardly any progress. And then I also have an embroidery project, which again, I've added very little to. So it's almost done though. I just have a few more, I need to add some more French knots to that piece to finish it off, and I haven't worked on it very much lately. So I will hold off on showing that to you all as well. So I think that's all I have to share with you all today. I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you would like. I would appreciate that so much. I hope you all have a great couple of weeks ahead. Don't forget to enter the giveaway if you would like to by asking a question in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, and thank you again so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.